Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. As we are expecting more participants to join in, we will start the discussion in the next couple of minutes. Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar. Welcome all. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we delve into the pressing topic of cloud and its significance for businesses and job seekers. My name is Krishna Vij. I lead the IT staffing business at Teamlist Digital and will be your host for today's session. So cloud is serving as a transformative force in reshaping the modern organizational landscape. It fundamentally alters the way businesses operate by offering unparalleled flexibility and scalability. It also allows companies to scale their IT infrastructure seamlessly, accommodating changing workloads and ensuring optimal performance. Cloud has also evolved as a foundational pillar for innovation and collaboration and is expected to accelerate the overall R&D culture in India, with more organizations leveraging cloud-based platforms. As per industry data, cloud is expected to contribute $310 to $380 billion to India's GDP by 2026, accounting for approximately 8% of India's total GDP. It is also projected to create around 14 million direct and indirect employment opportunities and has the potential to transform the Indian economy technologically and making it more resilient and inclusive. In this webinar today, we will be discussing the benefits and challenges of cloud in businesses, how it has evolved as a crucial tool of growth and expansion of organizational operations, how it can be effectively used to foster innovation at a larger scale, and much more. Our speakers will also talk about the career opportunities in this space, top job roles, skills in demand, and the scope of building a long-term career in cloud. Should you have any questions during the webinar, please use the chat option. We will endeavor to address most of the queries towards the end of the session. Our speakers for this webinars are experts in the field of cloud and will be sharing their experiences and insights with us today. Also wanted to mention the views expressed by our panelists are their own and not necessarily representative of their respective organizations they belong to. So without any further delay, let me introduce our distinguished panel for today. Our first panelist is Mr. Jyotirmoy Verma. Jyotirmoy currently holds the position of Associate Director at Hexagon Capability Center, India, and has over 23 years of experience in software development and architecture for the complete life cycle, including deployment, operations, and maintenance. He is an experienced technical and business leader with proven and demonstrated leadership in several product portfolios. Jyotirmoy is also leading the Center of Excellence for DevSecOps and providing expert guidance for cloud native strategy. Welcome, Jyotirmoy, to the webinar.
Hello, welcome all.
So next we have with us is Mr. Prakash Palanisamy, who is the Director of AI and Data at Deloitte. With over 17 years of experience in the data and AI field, Prakash has a strong track record of assisting major companies in leveraging data to drive business success. He specializes in creating and implementing data and AI solutions with expertise in leading cloud platforms such as Azure and Snowflake. Welcome, Mr. Prakash.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna and team, and welcome everyone for the webinar. Looking forward.
Thank you. Our third panelist for the webinar is Mr. Satish Kumar, who is an Associate Director and Senior Cloud Architect at a leading technology firm. Satish is a seasoned professional with over 23 years of experience in the IT industry. His expertise spans infrastructure hosting domains and cloud platforms, and he has a strong architectural focus on enterprise, data, and technological architecture. Welcome, Satish.
Thanks, Krishna. Good afternoon all, and looking forward to the conversation.
A warm welcome to all our panelists, and we are really excited to hear your insights on cloud today. So let's begin with Jyotirmoy today. So Jyotirmoy, in the current scenario, almost every business around the globe is exploring the potential of cloud adoption and its various benefits in scalability and flexibility to the business. We would like you to understand from you, as a cloud expert, what are your insights on how adoption of cloud services has helped in scaling up the overall business infrastructure? Also, if you can share some specific examples of certain innovative B2B solutions or services that were made possible through cloud integration.
You know, cloud adoption, if you see over the last decade or so, it's been exponential, right? And yeah, so what I was saying that I was looking into the report of even World Bank also, and the projection is by 2030, the business is going to be more than $1 trillion. Exponential growth that we see in last 10 years itself, we have seen a growth of more than 500% in the cloud business. And there are so many reasons and to adopt the cloud and the related say capabilities that we see. It has virtually what we say that revolutionized and transformed the way we do the business, right, per se. And a lot of advantages are there. I mean, most of the people by this time may be knowing out, right? Especially when you see provisioning of the cost-effective infrastructure, the scalability, right, and elasticity that you get on the cloud platforms. It makes a lot of commercial sense, especially on the cost optimization of your IT infrastructures. Also, there are policies on pay as you go, right? So you don't have to invest upfront a lot of money, right, to make things happen for you. What it has done is it has enabled businesses to reduce the time to market. You know? You have your infra ready and you invest into innovation, right? Uh, and your investment starts fructifying very quickly the moment you start adopting the cloud technologies and leverage the capabilities in there, right? Along with that, it also enables you better collaboration among you as a technical community, you as a vendor, as a business unit, and your customers, right? Cloud also ensures and assures the continuity of your business, right? So nowadays, anyone who is not really adopting cloud, and there are different clouds, right? Be it private, public, hybrid clouds, right? If you are not adopting it, right, very soon you will face so many challenges, right? And the competitive advantage that you can derive out of the cloud services, right? You'll miss out on those opportunities, right? As you rightly said, I mean, India per se uh, is greatly looking at all the capabilities on the cloud that's provided out there, right? Not only the infrastructure, but also the capabilities and services that's provided there. So you look at nowadays any particular service, especially in the Indian ecosystem, right? We have seen we do tremendously good when it comes to the digital India's initiatives that we see, the financial domain, the CRMs that we have, the vendor management that we have, anything and everything. Nowadays, I mean, very basic thing, very fundamental things that we experience day in, day out. Say the office applications, that office suite of applications that we see, right? Earlier you used to install it out on your desk, right? Now you get it as a service from the different cloud providers. So anything and everything now, it's all driven by cloud, right? And so much capability is there, right? Data is the real oil, what you say, right? It's the gold here, right? You start getting a lot of even personalized services based on your interaction and the data gathered by different computing services. A lot of predictive and suggestive indication starts coming up for the customers and the vendors equally. Right? It optimizes the overall cost of operation. Right? It enables you to collaborate more, better, transparent, seamless flow of information is there. Plus, nowadays, what we all have to be very careful, and there is predominantly little less understanding, is the security of your data. Right? Everyone understands the pitfall of it, but once you adopt a cloud platform per se, many of these aspects you get out of box the moment you adopt a cloud platform. Security is a big thing. Privacy, data privacy is a big thing. And cloud platforms, they really enable you to take cautious and graduated steps in this area.
I think some great points you've made, Jyotirmay, today, and also highlighting how the overall cloud is bringing the transformative impact in businesses today, and also touching base on certain cloud-based CRM systems as well, and essentially how cloud services are contributing to essentially operational efficiency and competitiveness in the overall business landscape. So those were some great thoughts that came out basis the question that was put across to you today. So looking forward, Prakash, my next question is for you. While we've heard from Jyotirmay in terms of the how it is helping in the overall business landscape, we are keen to understand what are the factors that are propelling the adoption of cloud technology across industries. So we've understood that there's a lot of heightened focus on digitalization in businesses today. We've also noticed there is a significant uptick in the integration of cloud platforms across diverse sectors. So we would like to hear your thoughts. What are these key drivers behind this widespread adoption of cloud technology in businesses as of today?
Sure. Thanks, Krishna. Thanks, Jyotirmay. I will try to answer that, right? So Jyotirmay covered some of those sort of basic tenets of what we are talking about, right? See, I think I see 2 or 3 things, right? So I mean, to answer, you had like a few questions there, right? So more about like what are those factors, right? See, I think I feel there are 2 major factors, right? So one, which is not so much like this is probably one of the good things of COVID, right? So when the COVID happened, right? I think I would say a lot of industries and businesses really felt the pain, right? And people who had not really invested into their IT infrastructure, particularly, I think they were struggling, right? And some of the businesses which came out very strongly were the businesses which had some very significant investments on sort of cloud and other things, right? Because people were not there to man the data centers, people were not there to man the sort of on-prem stuff, etc., and everything sort of pretty much went into a standstill at a very short notice, right? And if you take, right, I mean, if I just take my real example, I keep talking about how we might have struggled if you would have not had teams, right, to even run operations in our organization, right? Now I've discussed this, with a lot of my colleagues as well, and thankfully, some of these IT companies, we sort of fast tracked it, not because of COVID or we expected COVID, but then anyways it was getting fast tracked. Now going to real businesses, right? See, what are the businesses which are not adopting, right? I mean, pretty much everyone started adopting, right? Right from education. So my kid did like 1.5 years of online education, and I understood. I understand the teachers were trained and like they had to get on something, and but then the amazing thing is, whatever I've seen, I think globally and particularly in India, if there is a business opportunity, there is always people who are ready to offer that as a service or help that, right? So I think schools, for example, scaled up, educational institutions scaled up, and then for retail, I think thanks to Amazon, Flipkart, etc., I think retail was always picking up. But then again, some of these big companies, right, of CPG companies, right, be it Nestle, be it Unilever, be it like Kellogg's, everyone. So I think they realized the importance of getting on, to sort of I would say, when I say cloud, I mean I'm talking about getting onto e-commerce platforms in other areas as well, right? So then you take, right, I mean, which was not impacted, right, during COVID, right? Be it supply chain, be it general communications, so I think there were a lot of those industries, and I feel COVID, right, and the shock that COVID gave in terms of people not being mobile, that was one big driver, and we continue to see that, right? I mean, now the businesses talk about what if another thing happens that way, right? So there is for any business, I don't see, I really can't count one business which can say, okay, I don't think I mind not being in cloud, right? I think everyone wants to be in cloud, right? The second thing is also in terms of technology advancements that has happened in the last decade or so, right? And that is sort of helping companies fast track. And if you don't do it, as I said, one is sort of a backup, right? And what if another COVID happens or a similar COVID happens? God forbid it doesn't happen. But then what if it happens, right? That's one thing. The second thing is, if you're not on it, you are completely losing competitive advantage, and that's what I think Jyotirmay was also coming to, right? If your competitor has it and if you don't have it, I think you are definitely going to lose your customers, you're going to lose your business. So I think from that being optional or should we go in or not, I think now it's more about not why, it's more about when, right? So I think that fast tracked, right? And then even during that lockdown, at the second phase of the lockdown, if you see, the demand for, and I think, because we are talking about team leads, right? I think the demand for skilled people, right? It's more like, my seniors in university used to say how much of a demand that people who knew Java had in 2000, right? So, when the dot-com, burst or whatever happened, right? I mean, there was so much of people in, late 90s and early 2000s, right? I mean, if you just know Java, then you are you are flying to, to the US or somewhere in the West. Similarly, I think during this COVID, I think this entire cloud, I would say cloud capabilities, the need for cloud capabilities significantly increased. And I would say we could have done better there, right? I mean, obviously, right? I mean, it is still evolving, but at that point of time, again, even with some basic skills, etc., people were being recruited en masse across product companies, service companies, consulting companies. I think that's getting moderated now. I think now there is a lot more focus on, I would say skills and efficiency and everything sort of coming in. But at that point of time, okay, I just need to be there, right? Whatever happens, I still need to be on the cloud, right? So I would say the technology advancements and an event like COVID definitely fast tracked it. And also, right, I do a lot of data and AI. And for me, the example of a technological advancement is OpenAI and ChatGPT, for example, right? So it is just like, we always say, right, in technology, there is a hype cycle, right? I mean, wherein something goes up, but then actually you will find reality somewhere else, right? It not probably, from 0, it goes to 10. Maybe the reality is 5, right? I mean, that's how we have seen a lot of those things happening. But then something like a ChatGPT or a OpenAI or related LLM, sort of applications, I would say it's still staying at 10, for a while, and it is still performing at that 10 sort of thing. It's not a hype, it's real, right? Because of the accuracy of something like a ChatGPT or what all it can do. And that is sort of fast tracking, right? And now companies are thinking, okay, I mean, for example, forget about ChatGPT, forget about all these things if you're not on cloud, right? I mean, you have to be on cloud. There's no other option, right? I mean, you can't be not on cloud and not use. I mean, and if you're not on cloud, you can't use it. And if you can't use it, you're definitely losing your business, right? You will go off business very soon. So I think those are two major factors, really, Krishna, that has driven in the last 2 years, and it's an exciting time to be on the, in the market, speaking to the customers, understanding this and how quickly they are shifting, right? And I will finish with one thing, right? I was on a CIA conference last week, and one thing they said was, earlier technology used to be talked in at best in the tech teams within organizations. It will never even come to the boardroom, right? So now it is not about tech teams, right? I mean, it is being discussed in boardrooms, and it gets discussed in, like, probably our homes, right? We talk about ChatGPT. I mean, how many people? I mean, what was the last time when a technology like ChatGPT was discussed in kitchens and in sort of halls of of our homes, right? And that is happening. That is really happening there, and that means that it is not an optional thing anymore for the organizations. Which means that, and also, right, I think another view of mine is, particularly with India, I think there's a lot of industries which are embracing cloud and which have already gone into cloud, but we are still scratching the surface of it. Right? There is so much that we could potentially do, with cloud. And I think that, Jyotirmoy was talking about 2030 projections, etc. I think those are all accounting that factor, right? We are still scratching the surface, and there is so much that we could do, Krishna. Hopefully I answered those questions, but yeah, happy to come back again.
Absolutely, Prakash. I mean, spot on, I would say, because we were really looking forward to understanding the factors which are propelling the adoption of cloud technology. And you've touched upon some great points, including why it is important for every business to heighten the need of digitalization across by bringing in cost effectiveness of cloud solutions and allowing a shift from a capital intensive model to making it more an operational model in their own businesses. And furthermore, you've touched upon the facilitation of a collaboration and accessibility in a globalized business environment where businesses are also operating across. I think in a sense, the adoption of cloud technology addresses the overall evolving demands of modern businesses, touching about efficiency, scalability, security, and collaboration. You've also given given in terms of some of the great examples about ChatGPT and how technology has become more of an enabler today, and with integration of cloud. I think really we're keen to learn more on this platform from Satish as well. So Satish, from your perspective, now we've heard from Jyoti, we have heard from Prakash on the the drivers. So according to you, which are the industries that have seen a more prevalent adoption of cloud technologies in the recent years? So what, according to you, are the primary reasons where certain industries have shown higher rates of cloud adoption compared to others?
Right. Thanks, Krishna, for the question. I think Jyoti touched upon all the buckets where it is the cloud adoption is going. And then Prakash also mentioned about certain instances like COVID, how it is accelerating the adoption of the cloud technologies, right? Now, when we think about the industries, and then there are industries which are faster to adopt the cloud, and there are industries which are slower. In short, like it is not an industry specific industry which is not on the cloud. Everyone wants to put their feet on the cloud. That's how we have to see it. Now, which are more prevalent? The industries which are like less regulated, which are not of which doesn't comes in the regulated industries such as like retail, say for example, startups. They are going straight away into the cloud, which they don't bother about capex or those kind of things. They go and do the cloud, they consume the services, they want to get into the business. Those are the industries which they want to go faster off the cloud. Now, having said this, there are regulated industries as well, like financial sectors, there are healthcare sectors. It doesn't mean that they are not on the cloud. They are already having on the footprint on the cloud. Still, they are scratching their surface, like what Prakash mentioned, like what to do with their data. Data is a key. Data is the oil for everything. What to do with their private information, private data. Even those people, they are trying to adopt the cloud to do a lot of businesses. They want to connect with the customers. Say, for example, even for a banking customers, they want to have an mobile application. They want to have an interact with the customer services. And Prakash mentioned about the instances where COVID, where they want to connect with the businesses, they want to connect with their partners, they want to connect with their clients to provide a mobile app. So these are instances where you want to adopt a cloud service, want to adopt a pay-as-you-go model, you want to adopt a services which can provide a connect with the customers to provide a business partner ecosystem. And so these are the enablers for any businesses, be it regulated, non-regulated, where we are seeing cloud adoption like to all things across here. Hope I have answered your question.
Absolutely, Satish. Thank you so much for highlighting which are the industries where we see more early adopters, and also touching base where data is the oil, and plus how cloud platforms are enabling in terms of putting so much of emphasis on digital transformation, and how data-driven decision-making is tend to exhibit higher rates of cloud adoption, and also how it is bringing in so much of agility, innovation, and collaboration across businesses by cloud technologies. Now, moving on to Jyotirmoy here, we hear that AI and ML technologies are proving to be beneficial across industries in a lot of ways, like cost optimization, automating tasks, and increasing productivity embedded with cloud. So according to you, what are the key impacts of the advent of AI and ML technologies on cloud? Want to understand your views on this?
Yeah, AI and ML, I mean, they are the new. By this time, I shouldn't say it's new. I mean, it's deep inside us, but yeah, a budding sector for sure, right? And India has still a way to catch up. Offers great opportunity for all the professionals. And again, just like adoption of cloud, AI is not an option whether you do it or not. I mean, while we talk, some AI system is already capturing our dialect, right? And yeah, Prakash smiling, he knows better. So, these days, also we have to first of all understand, especially the amount of data that gets generated, right? AI system cannot work on an autonomous mode, right? The models that get generated, right? They are all curated and refined, right? Based on all the data which comes in to refine the models, to improve the models, the LLM systems and all are coming, huge data models coming up. Now, this is virtually, economically not sustainable. It does not make a business sense, right? To host all that data and processing environment onto your infrastructure, right? Because eventually there has to be a sustainable business model, right? Now, what cloud infrastructure does is democratize such capabilities, right? Where you can have access to such capabilities in a very meaningful way, all within your, say, the economic spectrum that you say, right? Now, if you see, first of all, even the in ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're all evolving, right? Many companies, they are all working on a similar sort of models, and it will continue to improve, right? By this time, a lot of seamless integrations within all the ecosystem, including I have seen these getting pop up. Okay, yeah, I've seen all these integrations happening, including in healthcare, manufacturing, CRMs, ERPs, everywhere, right? Now, the best part of artificial intelligence is that it's based on the data that it gets and the model that it's processing behind, right? It starts providing you a predictive information to you, right? Also, if you have to react to a particular scenario, right, it will be very, very, say, provide you pinpointed information, which all areas you need to really refine out. Predictive maintenance is a big thing coming up. Auto scaling based on, especially on the cloud infrastructure. That's all being done these days with AI-driven models. Okay? Another big part I notified in my previous note also, that threat detection and threat prevention. That's all these days are being say supported by a lot of tools and techniques supported by AI technologies, right? A lot of decision-making algorithms, right, to assist for all the cloud professionals. They are all happening with AI-driven model running behind. If you see, by this time, all the major cloud providers, they provide you cognitive services where you can leverage. Again, you don't have to uh, reinvent that cycle of AI models and all. It's transformed out already. It's pretty evolved. As I said, it's been democratized already, so that you again pay as you go. The amount of service that you wish to consume, the spectrum of the service that you wish to consume, you leverage it out for your business benefits. Also, these days we have seen that different cloud providers, they start providing different say AI services. Now you can leverage the hybrid of these services, which you can tie up those services to automate things out. I was just seeing through today that many jobs which are coming up, right? It's all would be driven fundamentally with some AI aspect coming in. Without cloud, without AI supported on cloud, it will virtually be very difficult to manage show, right? Many of our existing say capabilities that we do manually or with manual intervention, they'll all be automated, pretty refined way, right? All driven by AI, right? So the path forward is that each one of us as a professional, we need to continue to evolve, adopt the AI techniques. We have to understand it, imbibe it into the work process, how to make things more efficient, right? And offer newer capabilities into our business to grow, evolve, and succeed.
Thanks, Jyoti, for your inputs here. And moving on to Prakash, and since you work very closely into the AI space, and plus wanted to also understand similar views with respect to integration of AI and ML technologies and bringing their transformative impacts. You also want to add up any thoughts from your perspective, particularly to this topic, Prakash?
Sure. So I was smiling when Jyotirmay started about started talking about it is because when you enable transcription into this meeting, right? That's basically a AI model or ML model which is sitting and basically converting the voice to text and it with a great accuracy, I think, right? Because now my English might be very different from the way that Jyotirmay speaks and the way you speak, and still it can do it to a great accuracy. I've never seen Zoom or Teams sort of make mistakes, right? Because it has been trained on so much of data already, right? So now whether we realize or not, AI ML is everywhere, right? So when you just open your Amazon app, you're being suggested things, right? Again, that's a AI model that's sort of running behind running behind the show, right? To sort of show you what's the sort of major thing. So I think what's happening now is the transition from B2B to B2C, right? If I may call so, right? When businesses were using AI ML, and that has been happening for a while now, right? I have known CPG companies which were setting targets for their retailers and outlets based on AI ML models few years back, right? I mean, even well before COVID, etc. But now I think with all this advent and advent of the latest cloud technologies, what has happened is now it is starting to impact you and me. I mean, in a lot of cases, in a positive way, obviously, right? I mean, there is a big element on privacy ethics, and there is a lot of things going on. For example, the deepfake videos and other things that are sort of emerging, right? I mean, that's unfortunately the dark side of AML if you don't use some of these technologies in the right way. And that's why I think governments across the world are trying to sort of put in some place, right? I mean, I think we were quite late, but then if you think about GDPR, which was there a few years back in Europe, but then their data protection has been quite strong even in the earlier days, right? But India, I think we are now probably catching up, right? We have our recent regulation coming in. I think that's a great step, for example. But I think it's long way to go, right? Because if these technologies and this processing power is landing on not so right people, then there is an impact, right? But I will again reiterate. I think, for example, if you see the technologies, right, or rather the concepts of how this is happening, that's all mathematics, right? And that has been there from 1900, right? I don't think one of my professors says how there has been no major mathematical breakthrough or statistical breakthrough in the last 50 years, right? It's all done early part of the last century. But what has changed now is, as Jyotirmay said, the amount of data that is get generated because of digitalization, and more importantly, the ability for us to capture that, right? And when we capture that, then obviously then those mathematical models which were established maybe 50 years or 100 years back, now we are able to apply it because you also have the processing power to do that, right? So I have seen this transition. I'm sure the panel members would have seen this transition, right? I mean, for a we would be really worried if there is a 50 GB database, right? I mean, 10 years back, but now TBs of data gets processed in seconds, right? Because of the inventor, because of the big data sort of platforms coming in, right? The second thing is, again, I think from a say 10 years back, right, across Bangalore, you would see big data courses being advertised, right? Want to learn big data, want to know Spark, want to learn this thing, right? Now you won't probably see that, right? Because what has happened is these large companies, be it Microsoft or Google or Amazon, they have basically made them into products, right? So you need not reinvent it. And that's what I think Jyotirmay was saying, right? I mean, those algorithms are there, right? I mean, you need not reinvent it. Similarly, at that point, 10 years back, I think companies were trying to build their own big data platforms, right? That's why they needed big data developers. But now what has happened is those platforms are there. It's more about how do you use that platform and application. So the same thing with analytics as well, right? So now you probably don't need so many data scientists, pure play data scientists to do the job, but then there is ChatGPT, for example, right? I mean, you're not going to reinvent ChatGPT. It's there, right? Or OpenAI or, model that Facebook, releases, right? I mean, those models are there. Now we need people who can understand it and build applications around it, right? So how do I apply that, right? So I think that shift is happening now, right? I mean, I'm not underplaying any skills here, but then the point is more from building that capability to, okay, that capability is built. How do I now use it for business benefit, for my benefit, for your benefit? I think that focus is sort of shifting, and that we see now, right? So, for example, the organization, for example, in the organization I work for, do we want to build our LLMs? probably at some point, but then, but the focus now is okay, those LLMs have been built, right? How do I take that and industrialize it, right? I mean, having a chat GPT and talking to it is great, but then how can say, any retail store or a big CPG company or a big financial institution derive value out of it, right? So that's where I think, the application comes in. And I think our focus has been primarily on that area, wherein how do we use those things, right? But the basic premise for all this is cloud, right? I mean, without cloud, we are not even talking about any of these things, right? It's just impossible for us to even imagine any of these things without cloud. So that, I mean, the context, the relationship to cloud is that. So we need people who understand cloud. We need people to understand some of these things, but not necessarily build them from scratch. But then can we now focus on monetizing it, right? And I'm sure even OpenAI and ChatGPT, they built this great tool, and now their next focus is how do I monetize it, right? How do I make sure that this is being used by the right people? And the opportunities are there because, right? I mean, with all good things, there are also those bad things coming in, right? When I say, right, I mean, there is a privacy issue, there is a security issue, there are now every country is going to have their regulations, which means that there are more tweaks and enhancements and things that we might have to do there. Krishna. Yeah.
So thanks so much, Prakash and Jyoti. And I mean, I think it's really some great points have come today in terms of understanding how cloud-based platforms are not only enhancing scalability of cloud platforms, but it is also bringing in so much of efficiency by integrating of AI and ML applications. But you've also touched upon some great point with respect to the security measures. So I want to shift this topic to a little more on the regulatory front. Prakash, you also spoke about something on the GDPR front, and I want to pass on a similar question to Satish as well. So we've been hearing that we've understood how businesses are benefiting from adopting of cloud. Now, with the integration of regulatory challenges, which we heard from Prakash just now, so how are these regulatory challenges impacting the adoption of cloud technologies? And according to you, what are the strategies that organizations can employ to navigate these complexities while adopting cloud and integrating cloud within this evolving regulatory frameworks?
Right. Thanks, Krishna, for the question. When Prakash was just touching about certain things, data, privacy, and all those things, yes, obviously every geography or every region has some sort of a regulatory body which is there. Okay, say for example, in Europe it has got GDPR. If you take an payment card, there's a PCI standards, there is a NIST standards, there is a HIPAA for the HIPAA standards. So these are regulatory bodies. They are trying to put certain measures which they want to measure, like comply towards certain practices for the government or the organization they're trying to do it across. Beyond those, there are geographical things, Europe region as such, and then India's region, data personalization, data sovereignty. These are all regulatory practices which there is some kind of enforced by the governments, enforced by the organizations, which organizations are taking key decision before they are moving into the cloud. So one, they want to have some kind of a compliance towards the regulatory practices, and so they want to have some sort of guidance. Now, what is happening is, like, when they're operating in silos, that is in the data centers or on the on-prem, they don't have a larger ecosystem. They are always dependent upon certain one of the other providers. Now, what cloud has made is it has enabled a partner ecosystem. There are numerous players who can provide a ready-made solution available for compliance to certain data sovereignty kind of challenges. If they want to comply to some PCI standards, there's a ready framework which is available. Now, Prakash keeps on mentioning about large language models, Chat GPT, and other things, right? Now, yes, data is a new oil. Every time everyone wants to monetize on the large language models, they want to create some kind of a large language models, produce an output or something like that. Now, these are foundational models which are trained on like the internet scale data, right? Now, when I want to consume those kind of models and I want to comply to certain organization or a geographic boundary, I need to protect the data. That means there are some regulatory boundaries which I need to operate it, and I need to have my large language model not to hallucinate, not have an ethical, or should provide an ethical or near ethical. And there is terms like responsible AI. There are terms like you can just say hallucinations is coming out. So these are like to avoid bias, right? So there are some guardrails which has been put out by every provider. And when you see who's providing this ecosystem, rather than the silos, it is the cloud more prevalent, which can be understood by the masses, which can be understood by all like the industries, right? So rather than operating in silos, where there is an ecosystem, this cloud is the ecosystem where they are having to provide these kind of frameworks, to add guardrails, like to provide certain frameworks, to comply to certain frameworks like NIST, HIPAA, or responsibility. These are the platforms they are providing it. And when they are doing it in cloud, they see more success, right? When they are doing it in silos, what happens is like they are trying to start a project and they are not going anywhere. Actually, that's how we see it. And cloud makes it possible. It makes a common language for everyone to understand. Yes, this is the framework which I'm trying to adopt. This is the like regulatory practice which I'm adopting, and these are the frameworks which I'm adopting, which is a ready-made solution which is available. And there is enough ecosystem, enough engineers are getting trained. So these are the places where they try to get on.
Great point, Satish, and thank you so much for highlighting the overall understanding towards the complexities of the regulatory framework. But I'd also like to ask you a follow-up question, because you also work very closely in this space. And I want you to highlight some of the examples of certain popular cloud platforms which are widely utilized and organizations are utilizing for deploying and managing applications across industries. If you could throw some light on this aspect of the question as well.
All right. So I think the popular cloud platforms you see, AWS is very early in the space. So AWS is way ahead. There are three major cloud providers. Okay. Obviously, everyone knows it's AWS, Azure, and Google, right? Each of them are having their own strengths and things. But beyond this, there are other players as well, right? There are distant. There is an Oracle cloud. There is an Ali cloud. And beyond this, now even hybrid cloud is gaining space, because not everything can be solved by cloud, right? There are a lot of data which is getting generated on-prem. We hear terminologies like sovereign cloud. We are hearing something kind of getting the data generated, which is closer to the source. That means they want to have an on-prem cloud. So there are public cloud platforms. There is hybrid cloud platforms. There are players in public cloud platforms, be it the three big players: AWS, Azure, GCP, and distant there is an Oracle and Ali Cloud, and there are other providers which are coming into play, and hybrid cloud there are enough players as well actually.
Thanks a lot, Satish, for your inputs. Now, I'd like to shift this question from a B2C, because we also have a lot of participants who are job seekers and aspiring cloud professionals. And this question, I would like to park it to Prakash. We would like to hear your insights. I want to understand what are the sectors where we see the demand for cloud experts is notably high, and what kind of roles organizations are creating in cloud within these sectors, if you can call out here.
Yeah. See, I think, as we discussed, right, I think the demand and the adoption of cloud is across areas now, right? So now, right, say, if you look at the market, right, see, there are, obviously, right, there are a lot of, recently you would have, read that, like, for example, GCCs we call Global Capability Centers, right? I think that's going to be like a exponential increase in the number of global capability centers that are going to be set up in India, right? And you can assume by default everyone will sort of are going to sort of have need for sort of cloud talent, right, within their sort of organizations. Now, coming to services companies and to consulting companies, right? So I have seen a lot of these companies starting to build a team for like cloud engineering or cloud platforms, right? So it never used to be there, but now there is a team separately which focuses on it, where the focus is primarily to help sort of businesses move from on-prem to cloud and basically take them through that modernization journey, right? And I think in terms of the roles, right, I think see what's happening is, I think from that infrastructure roles are sort of going down, but then it is being more than compensated by roles which are being developed to apply and use those cloud applications, right? So now if I take one example within data and analytics, right, what is that we want? We don't want people to build big data platforms, right, or Spark platforms, but we need people who can effectively utilize that, right? So, for example, data engineers, ML engineers, data scientists, right? So these are areas, and even if you see, right, because I'm in the market looking for talent in these areas. People talk about slowdown, people talk about a lot of other things, but then I don't see that happening, right? I mean, we have not reduced recruiting. I don't think any of our competitors have reduced recruiting. And whom we compete with, we compete with all different sort of people, right? We compete with probably people like team leads also, but then our bigger competition is people like services companies, consulting companies, more importantly GCCs, right? Because global capability centers are committing a lot to India, which means that they want to get the best talent, and that talent probably will start managing things for them, right? So we are seeing a surge in, definitely. I mean, because I'm close to data and AI, I think we are definitely seeing that. But I also see a lot of experts needed in areas where you can set up cloud and optimize cloud, right? Because as I said, when the cloud, when the entire COVID thing happened, I don't think there was any question of efficiency or anything else, right? So there is a lot of companies which have gone to cloud in, I would say, inefficient ways, right? And now they are saying that though it's a pay-as-you-go model, but they're paying a lot, every month, right? So everyone wants to sort of optimize it. So and every other customer that we're talking about is talking about, okay, do you have experts who can optimize things, right? So one is using it, building it, but also second is optimization, right? I mean, these are areas. And in terms of new divisions, as I said, like cloud is becoming a cloud engineering or cloud platforms are these are areas where I mean, companies are setting up separate verticals to sort of manage this particular part, Krishna, right? And within that, yeah, data and AI is continuing to boom, and I think we will continue to boom, right? And I mean, I will take one very quick opportunity to talk about, say, I mean, we spoke about a lot of applications, right? Recently, I was talking to someone in the public sector, right? And what they have done is they have now basically implemented ML based solution, AI ML based solution to track the movement of big cats around the forest and the adjoining areas. And the challenge is, right, in the night, how do you track it, right? I mean, like even if you have videos, your video quality and your night visions are going to be there. So now, how do you differentiate between animals, right? There could be for example, a dog and a tiger might not be very different in the night, right? In terms of what they are seeing. So I mean, and they're saying that they have been able to reduce the human-animal conflict by 50% in already in the first 3 months of that sort of they're doing a trial run, right? They're already seeing a 50% decrease in human animal conflict, wherein as soon as they are able to detect, they're able to send messages to people, to forest officials, etc., and alert people, etc. So it's more of a preventive thing that they're doing, right? So imagine, right? I mean, if and public sector is one area where it is still scratching the surface, right? Now imagine if it comes into our government hospitals, if it comes into, I mean, people are talking about reviewing the x-rays, right? I mean, x-rays and CT scans, for example, and doing an auto. So there is so much of applications that is possible, and it is only possible because of cloud and data and AI. And so I think in this particular areas, I think there is going to be an exponential increase in demand for people with the right skills, and more importantly, people who have the right skills. I think that's very important, right? I think earlier, when if you just like build something, right, on-prem data center, you put a machine, it keeps running, the cost is once. But now if you don't build things properly in cloud, it's going to exponentially increase your expense. So there is a lot of focus on optimization as well.
Great, Prakash. I think you've really substantiated the number that I spoke at the beginning of the conversation about 14 million job opportunities getting created in cloud predominantly, and how substantial employment prospects are getting generated across industries. And we also touched based upon how organizations are moving on into creating more employment opportunities with the ongoing digital transformation initiatives that also going to create multiple substantial career opportunities within this domain. So I'd also like to hear from Jyotirmoy, linking it to what Prakash has also mentioned out here. If you could also touch base, because we also see a lot of freshers attending this webinar and also want to create a career in cloud. So what, according to you, what are the courses or certifications do you recommend for freshers who want to make a career in this?
A lot of good points that Prakash brought in. Okay. Now, initial days, we are talking 5 years back, sort of in India, right? When people started really looking at cloud seriously, created a lot of infrastructure on cloud. Now, if the infrastructure is not really created in an optimized way, what Prakash rightly said, right? The check that you sign at the end of the month is really big fact. Okay, so a lot of opportunities are there. People should invest their time and energy to understand the cost benefit of the cloud. That's one area called FinOps. Right? They have to really, really look into it, because cloud provides you opportunity of abundance, right? But unless it is dealt with a caution, right? It should make economic sense for you to succeed eventually, right? Another area which is still, how say, little less explored, little less charted within India ecosystem is the security, right? We talk time and again on the data privacy or data security or compliances. Every industry has their own compliances and all. Along with that, people have to continue to learn and understand the regulatory compliances, right, which keeps on evolving and coming up, right? So people will have to keep a keen eye onto it. Now, talking to professionals who wish to adopt the cloud platform per se, right? Now, they have to start understanding what all capabilities cloud really provides us, right? They can invest in all the spectrum of the cloud services which comes up, right? Right from the infra to the PaaS, and nowadays the cognitive AI services that are leveraged out of the cloud. What Prakash said, we don't need people now to create a big data chunking ecosystem, but you should understand how to consume those services. Now, for the freshers, if you say, or the new budding professionals, right? It's very important to be abreast with the newer development in cloud technologies, right? You have to keep again keep track of all the website journals that what's going on, what's happening in cloud, right? Because it's very fast evolving space there, right? They have to expand their knowledge base. Okay, and as I said, cloud has different spectrums, right? So they have to expand their knowledge base, go for certifications, right? And there are certifications at every level and to different depth of what you can do. You can attend the courses, the trainings, the seminars, participate into open source projects. Again, I'm being part of a GCC myself. I know how much investment comes in here, right? How much people are enthusiastic in investing into such opportunities, right? And we keep on exploring possibilities, what all services different cloud vendors provides us. Now, capturing data is no great deal by this time, but absorbing and processing that data into a meaningful way, right? That's something the cloud services providers they provide out all those stuff, right? And it's very important for the new budding professionals beyond these learnings and attending seminars, attending courses. They do hands-on. Very important. Most of the cloud platforms, especially for learners, they provide some leverages, some concessions, some hand-holding, where people can get really discounted and initiated courses where they can really do hands-on. It's very important because otherwise it remains on the paper, right? All these said, certification certainly helps, especially on the new set of candidates which come up. At least it shows that, yes, you have the fundamental understanding of the cloud platforms. But it's also important that you start networking with like-minded professionals, right? So that you understand what all different say technological advancements happening across, right? Something that you might have missed out, right? With your right networking, it'll come to your understanding. You will have better and deeper understanding onto it. So have a very structured learning, but it's a vast ocean. You have to expand the horizon, right? So that's what I would say. And have a strong work ethic, have a structured learning, have positive attitude. It is don't get overwhelmed that, oh my, so much is there, right? So uh, take initiative. Again, don't fear of the initial, say, failures, right? Build on top of it. And again, by this time, there is a vast say, literature available which helps students and the newer professionals to build on. With the new LLMs coming up, right, you get a lot of assistance also, how to build up onto that. Yeah, that's what I could say.
Thanks, Jyotirmoy, for the real great insights and a lot of inputs for the job seekers out there. I'd like to ask a similar or maybe a little bit shift to the question for experienced job seekers to Satish over here. We've been hearing a lot of upskilling and reskilling are very important to stay relevant in the current technology landscape. So according to you, in the evolving cloud technology landscape, what kind of upskilling strategies or reskilling do you recommend for job seekers so that they stay relevant in the market?
Yeah, thanks, Krishna, for the question. I like to add a personal story to what you asked across. I started my career somewhere in 2000, actually. So my first technology was MS-DOS installation by putting 3 floppy disks, 1.45, right? Right from that date till today, I'm in the technology space, actually. So if you just see from MS-DOS, I just transitioned from MS-DOS to Novel Netware. I don't know if people have heard it, Novel Netware, Windows NT, Skull Linux, then Linux platforms, HP Unix, then virtualization platforms, Linux, private cloud platforms, and public cloud platforms. Today, I'm doing a solution for GenAI. If I'm just speaking with customers over here and to the forums which I'm representing, I'm speaking about GenAI related projects. We have been designing solutions to the enterprises related to the AI, how to modernize this AI estate, how do I bring digital labor that is using the GenAI and LLMs to the things. If you just see, if there are the journey which I carried out, right from MS-DOS, even before like Windows 98 or something like that, right? Now, there was 95 was prevalent at the time, actually, Windows 95. And then till today, it is Gen AI. So my strategy is to just keep upskilling. That means just certain aside to observe first thing what is happening around you, stay relevant in the market. Now, there are few pointers which is given by Jyoti Verma, like read the blogs, read what is happening around in the industry. Just network across, speak to your friends, right? Then you get insights. Now, very often when what happens is like people, when they're trying to upskill, they want to learn something and they want to learn certain cloud technology straight. They want to learn the cloud architect as a first certification tool. No, it's not that way. Just understand what is the things happening around it, whether it is relevant, whether it is in line with what you're trying to do, and then spend time. Just think about whether you can just, whatever the work you're trying to do. Okay, if I'm just doing a Linux machine, how do I do that? How do I do an operation similar that in the cloud space? What are they trying to do? Okay, if I'm doing something with the databases, how the databases are getting operated in the cloud space. So take a vertical path in the same area, then expand horizontally, right? And then try to read the blogs, try to network, right? Once you're familiarizing with these things, start giving back to your community, start speaking around your office colleagues, speaking around your friends communities, start writing about your blogs. Okay, this is about it. One more thing is like one additional thing what I wanted to mention is like when I want to there was a pitfall when I was just trying to upskill myself, right? There are a lot of learning platforms available, be it Udemy, be it Coursera, be it any other Pluralsight or whatever it may be. Once upon a time, I used to be fancied by the words like big data, AI, microservices. And then for every time when I'm just seeing this, I go to the Udemy and then subscribe to the course. And then I just start doing something. And if I just see back my screen, what is my completion percentage? Not even a single course I was able to complete it. Everything was like somewhere in 15%, 20%, 30%. There was not a successful completion of even one course. At end of some certain period, I was just seeing like I was subscribed to almost 50, 60 courses, but not in a one good completion across. So that was a pitfall. Now I took an approach. Okay, even there are a lot of buzzwords coming out there. Even if my friends are doing something fancy things, think what you want to do, right? What you want to achieve from the perspective, like individual perspective. Whether you can just enhance your current work from this, like if you're trying to do a server management, how do you do that in the cloud space? If you're doing a database management, how do you do in the cloud space? If you're doing something related to the doing SQL queries, how to do a data engineering kind of a work? If you're doing something related to security, how do I do these things in the cloud? So think about that vertical. Learn one cloud platform. Don't go into the mode of like learning AWS, Azure, GCP, or Oracle Cloud. No, it's not like that. Just learn one cloud platform, one vertical. Be familiarized with the concepts, then expand horizontally. So this is how I would suggest people to go for upscaling. Okay, and don't go and subscribe to every learning platforms. Be vertical. Focus on something. Once you're comfortable, expand to the horizons.
Thanks a lot, Satish, for those great insights. In the interest of time, we've reached an interesting part of the webinar where we'd like to take up questions from our participants. We have some interesting questions flowing in, and I'd like to pick a few of them. And I'd like to park this question for Prakash here. Prakash, this question is from one of our participants. They're asking, what are the security concerns when it comes to storing sensitive data on the cloud? And what measures have been implemented by your organization or based your experience to ensure compliance with industry regulations?
Yeah, okay. I think it's you can probably run a webinar series on this particular topic, Krishna, but I will try to sort of, summarize it, right? See, I think now, we call something by, something called either security by design or privacy by design, right? Which is basically to say that even before an initiative is started, I think, now we have data security teams. There are, other security teams which sort of, vet the design and see how things are being done, right? Now, all these cloud platforms, right, that Satish was talking about are pretty much like, most of them are GDPR compliant, for example, and they keep updating some of their sort of, policies in alignment to sort of, the regulations which are sort of are coming in, right? So one is like, the first level of checks and balances happens at a cloud provider level. The second level of checks and balances happens at a level where we start designing and putting in, right? Now, thanks to the West, I think, I think personal data handling has always been a major focus, right, in most of the, corporate world. But I think that's an area that is definitely, I would say, it does concern me, from a public sector perspective, right? See, I think there was a recent news that all the, COVID vaccination data was sort of, lost or leaked or whatever it is, right? So that sort of, pretty much, I think at that point of time, we were ready to give up everything, right? I mean, to get a vaccine, right? So I think, a lot of information was being collected for good reasons, right? So that like, people can track and, do all that things, right? So I think that security design, embracing security design is a very important thing, which I think, even the public sector and the private sector people are sort of, looking at, right? Now, examples of it, for example, there's a lot, I mean, when we build, say, a data lake, for example, there is a lot of categorization that happens, right? So usually there is something called public data, then which can be shared by pretty much everyone. So that could be like, say, your share prices, your stock prices, etc. So then there is confidential data, which potentially could be, your supply chain data and other things, which ideally you don't want to share with others. So then there is, I would say, red status data, or you call it very confidential data, which is basically your financial numbers, etc., which can potentially change, say, the stock price of things, right? I mean, your margins and other things. And finally, a PII data, which is, which includes, personally identifiable information data, right? So we sort of, design systems which sort of, has these data classifications, and there are very strict policies, security policies around who can access what, right? And most of these data and now, right, I mean, security is integrated now with these, cloud data platforms. If I take Azure, for example, then you have Azure AD, which is sort of integrated, which means that, you need to have an account in that sort of AD to even, try to sort of access that, etc. So I would say, I mean, I think, the cloud providers are now getting very, very matured, and it is a very basic thing to have, right? The security and data classifications, etc., are very, very basic tenants of a cloud provider. So even when they start, they have it. And then on top of it, when we build applications, we build layers of security around it. Right. But as I said, I think it again, it keeps evolving. And that's one big challenge the industry is also facing anyways, right? And that's an area where, for example, you might build one global application and then realize that, okay, US says that you can't store US data, anything outside US. So then you need to probably align it and store it in a, US data center, versus the same thing with Europe. You can't, it can't go away from the European Union sort of, places. Similarly, I think now India is also sort of, getting to that state, and which means that there's going to be and when each and every country starts doing this, which means that, all these cloud providers need to start having the data centers and operations from each of those countries, right? So I think there is a lot of considerations, but I think there are some very good steps that has already been taken around this area, and it's being implemented as well, as we speak.
Thanks, Prakash, for the great insights. I can also see that most of the questions that we have received from our participants have already been covered during the course of the discussion. And in the interest of time, for the questions which we are not able to take up right now, we would reach out to our panelists and also get back to you with the responses. In the interest of time, as I said, we would like to conclude the webinar today. And as we conclude the discussion with our panelists today, we extend our heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed panelists for sharing your valuable insights and making this webinar so engaging and insightful. And a special thank you to our engaged audience for your active participation and thoughtful questions. We really appreciate your commitment to learning and exploring the endless possibilities within the world of cloud. So stay tuned for more insightful sessions. And thank you all for being a part of today's enlightening and collaborative experience. I wish everyone a great day ahead.
Thanks, Krishna. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Take care.